Welcome back. Of course, today marks World Mental Health Day, and we have Development Manager at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, Fatima Seedat, who is here to unpack this topic for us a bit more further. Fatima, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Perhaps let's start off with, just the basics around what mental health means and, what is mental health and, what does it mean to society?
Good evening, and thank you for having us on your show tonight. Mental health is so important. It plays a vital role in your lives because, it's a pivotal part of your overall well-being. So if you don't have mental health and physical health, you're not as well as what you think you are. So this whole campaign this year is just covering the importance of mental health in your life and trying to create more awareness around how important it is to take some time back and just take care of yourself.
At the same time, we saw a number of people speaking about mental health, especially during a time where many of us were under lockdown, were behind closed doors, were not interacting much with, those, in our surroundings. When it comes to, do you think that at the time when we were experiencing COVID-19, people had a clue what mental health actually meant?
Just from stats that we have at our call center, prior to COVID-19 and lockdown, we were receiving about 600 to 800 calls a day. During lockdown, within the first few months, our calls grew from that to about 1,800. Post-COVID and going into now what we are experiencing, which is load shedding, water shedding, and all other societal and psychosocial things that are happening around us, we receive over 2,500 people reaching out to us on a daily basis. So we can see there's a vast change in the way people are thinking and the way people are perceiving mental health as a whole. And more people are learning more about mental health and are reaching out to get help.
And when it comes to mental health challenges, now that we find ourselves post-COVID, I mean, you've highlighted some of the problems that we have encountered, one being problems around load shedding, but at the same time, talking about, getting out of COVID-19 and now having to interact with the world and to now see people physically. What were the challenges associated with some of the people you have dealt with who were saying that, well, as much as we had, mental health problems indoors, it seems as if, do you see the numbers growing now that people are forced to get out of their homes?
So, us as humans, we are so used to being in a specific routine, and we have our own way of dealing with a lot of things. So we adapt. Some of us adapt more better than others. So during COVID-19, some of us took longer to adapt to be in lockdown and being isolated and not having very limited interaction with people on a face-to-face level. And what happened was when we went back to normal, people now had to adjust back to that. The face-to-face, the interactions, being around people. And some people adjusted well while others struggled, and they experienced high levels of anxiety because, the paranoia that we developed from COVID-19 and how, when that whole thing of what if I get sick, or what if there's germs around us, so there's a lot of different people coping differently, adapting differently, and each person will have a specific case that we try and manage and help.
And as we deal with World Mental Health Day, and the theme being mental health is a universal human right, what would you say are the common trends we are seeing now in the country when it comes to dealing with mental health problems?
There are so many issues currently. SABC did a a survey on the impact of load shedding on your mental health. And from there, we picked up that people had higher levels of anxiety. There were 10% of people that actually had suicidal ideation during load shedding times. So there is a lot of adapting to do, and South Africans are really resilient people on the whole, but we are kind of hitting a little bit of, because there's so much happening. It's like almost like a snowball effect, where some people are at their, I think they reach their limits, where they are now struggling a lot more than what they used to. And if you notice, you'll get people that say, you know, I've never been an aggressive person, but lately I get angry so quickly, or I get triggered so quickly. And with that, we are learning that different people are coping differently, other people are struggling differently. And, you know, for us, it's every day, it's a new issue that we have to cover. Currently, we are also helping learners at schools because we've seen the increase of suicides reported. And when we learn about the different issues they're going through, there's numerous factors as to what's going on with them and how they are dealing with different things that are issues that they are going through.
And we know with mental health issues or problems, you know, there's always a stigma attached to it. Some people don't really understand what mental health is. You know, why do we need to take it seriously?
Like I said earlier, mental health plays a vital role in your overall well-being. So if you're not taking care of your mental health, you are going to be struggling with your day-to-day functionality. Just basic things like completing tasks, doing your chores, they may be impacted. Also, when it comes to your physical health, so when you're looking at something like anxiety, you start seeing physical symptoms come up. So you have, when you are going through a highly anxious period during the day or a few moments during the day, you are having physical symptoms, which is increased heart rate, difficulty breathing, sweaty palms. So mental health conditions do have a high impact on everything on your functionality as a whole, and also impacts the way you function as a human being. So you know, mental health also governs the way you cope with different things and the way you see different things and how you feel, the emotions you're going through. All of that plays such a big role as a person. And if you do not take care of your mental health, you're not going to be able to cope with different things as well.
And what would be your advice to South Africans who are currently experiencing some of the symptoms you've just told us about when it comes to dealing with mental health problems?
You know, the most important thing is my advice is reach out and get help. Do not bottle up or do not delay getting help, because the longer you prolong at getting help, the more difficult it becomes. I use this analogy a lot with learners in schools, and I tell them, imagine you as a Coke bottle, and every time something happens to you, you shake that Coke bottle, and you keep bottling it up. So you keep shaking and shaking and shaking. Eventually, when that bottle opens, everything comes out, and that's more difficult to handle than when you are having one thing at a time to manage. So we do encourage people. My best advice is educate yourself, learn more about mental illness, about mental health conditions, about self-care, about your own mental health and well-being. If you are seeing signs and symptoms, the biggest one is the change in your behavioral patterns, which is your sleep, eat patterns, and just the way you feel as a human being. The second one is struggling with your day-to-day activities. So if your functionality levels start dropping, reach out and get help. The earlier you get help, the better it is for you to cope with different other things that you may go through. And also it helps you, become a more functional person over time.
Fatima, thank you so much for your time and that insight. That is Fatima Seedat. She is the Development Manager at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group.